In the dimly lit corner of the upscale restaurant, the clinking of glasses and the soft murmur of conversations wound around the air like an elegant melody. Mia, a dedicated waitress with dreams that reached beyond the confines of her job, glided between tables, her movements fluid and precise. She wore a simple black dress, yet it suited her perfectly, accentuating her confidence and poise. Little did she know that this night would change everything. As she approached a table adorned with expensive dishes and an array of fine wines, she felt a shudder of electricity in the air. Her gaze was drawn to him, Victor. He sat at the head of the table, exuding an aura of danger wrapped in charisma. His dark hair was slicked back meticulously, framing a face that could only be described as striking, sharp cheekbones and piercing blue eyes that seemed to absorb everything around them. He commanded attention without even trying. Mia had learned to maintain her composure when serving high-profile clients, yet something about Victor unsettled her. It wasn't just his intimidating presence, it was the way he watched her, as if she were an enigma he was eager to decipher. As she approached a table to take their orders, an invisible thread of tension danced between them. "Another round of drinks?" she asked, her voice steady despite the flutter in her chest. Victor leaned back, a half-smirk playing on his lips. "What if I said we'd rather have your company instead?" His voice was deep, smooth, and carried a hint of mockery. The room seemed to still for a heartbeat. The other patrons looked on, some intrigued, others amused. Mia felt her cheeks flush, a mix of embarrassment and indignation washing over her. "I'm afraid that's not on the menu," she replied coolly, returning his gaze with a defiance she didn't know she possessed. She could feel the lingering stares of the other diners, their eyes shifting between the imposing Mafia boss and the bold waitress who dared to challenge him. Victor's smirk widened, intrigued by her audacity. "And what if I wanted to make it worth your while? Perhaps a hefty tip for a little conversation?" His words hung in the air, heavy with implication. Mia's mind raced, caught in the whirlpool of uncertainty. This man was a force, someone whose mere presence suggested power and danger. Yet she felt a flicker of something else, an undeniable attraction that tugged at her, imploring her to engage despite the risks. "Your money doesn't impress me," she shot back, surprising even herself. "I'm here to work, not to entertain." Her heart raced at her own boldness, but a part of her wondered if she was making a grave mistake. Victor raised an eyebrow, clearly amused. "You're not like the others, are you?" His voice lowered, drawing her in as if he were sharing a secret. "Most would jump at the chance to bask in my company." Mia steadied herself, refusing to let him see how deeply he affected her. "I've worked too hard to let flattery distract me," she replied, her resolve hardening. "You can have your drinks, but I won't be your plaything." Her heart pounded as she spoke, each word a shield defending her fragile walls. She turned to walk away, daring to steal a glance over her shoulder. Victor's eyes were fixed on her, an intensity that made her pulse quicken. There was something captivating about the way he looked at her, like she was a puzzle he couldn't quite solve. But Mia refused to let herself be pulled into that dangerous allure. As she walked back to the bar, she felt the weight of Victor's gaze on her, a mix of intrigue and challenge. She busied herself with drinks, attempting to shake off the lingering sensation of vulnerability. Yet her thoughts kept returning to him, the Mafia boss who seemed to have the world at his fingertips, but was somehow fascinated by her, a mere waitress. The night progressed, but the air remained thick with unspoken tension. Mia tried to focus on her tasks, yet the anticipation buzzed beneath her skin. Whenever she glanced toward Victor's table, his gaze would find hers, electric and fervent, igniting an unexplainable thrill within her. It was maddening yet exhilarating, a dangerous game of glances that left her breathless. In that moment, among the luxurious surroundings and the laughter of the elite, Mia felt like an outsider. She had grown up in a world far removed from this opulence, where survival reigned over extravagance. Yet, here she was, daring to stand her ground against a man encased in power, a man like Victor. As the evening deepened, Victor's table was abuzz with laughter and the clinking of glasses, but Mia could sense the undercurrents of something darker. There was a tension there, a threat pooling just beneath the surface. The way he spoke, the way he commanded respect, she couldn't shake the feeling that this man was not just an affluent patron, but a force of nature. She returned to serve him another drink, daring to hold his gaze a moment longer than necessary. "Is there anything else you need?" she asked, her voice steady despite the war raging in her heart. Victor leaned forward, the intensity of his eyes searching hers. "You're different, Mia," he said, his tone now serious. "I can see it. You have a strength that intrigues me." Her breath caught. How could he see beneath her facade? She had spent years building walls, hiding her true self from the world. "I'm just a waitress," she said, trying to downplay his observation. "Perhaps," he shrugged, "but every waitress has a story. You should tell me yours someday." Mia felt a shiver run down her spine, an unsettling mix of fear and curiosity. This was more than just a chance encounter. It was an invitation into a world she had never wanted to know. But as she turned away, she couldn't help but wonder, what would happen if she let herself be drawn into the depths of his world? That night, as Mia lay in bed replaying their encounter, she felt the magnetic pull of Victor's presence. It was a connection she couldn't ignore, a spark that ignited a fire within her, one that threatened to consume her. Little did she know, this was just the beginning, a prelude to a life entangled with danger, desire, and choices that would change her forever. Mia was still reeling from the unexpected confrontation with Victor. As she navigated the bustling restaurant, the weight of his gaze lingered on her, a constant reminder of the power dynamics at play. She busied herself with the tasks at hand, yet her thoughts kept spiraling back to him. The way he leaned back in his chair, the casual confidence in his demeanor, and his playful arrogance, it was intoxicating and deeply unsettling all at once. When Victor called for her again, his tone was different this time, edged with a hint of challenge. "Come, Mia, I have a question for you," he beckoned, his voice deliberately low, drawing the attention of his associates. They leaned in, sensing the shift in the atmosphere. Mia felt her heart race as she approached the table, each step a mix of trepidation and exhilaration. "What's on your mind?" she asked, keeping her composure, her heart pounding in her chest. The table was filled with Victor's closest allies, men who wore their wealth and influence like armor. The air was thick with bravado, and she could feel their eyes scrutinizing her, sizing her up as if she were an intruder in their world. Victor's smirk returned, sharper this time, as if he relished the moment. "Tell me, what would you do if you found yourself facing a man like me in a dark alley?" he posed, his question layered with implications. The laughter and murmurs at the table faded, all attention drawn to her. Mia felt a rush of heat rise to her cheeks, but she quickly masked it with a cool indifference. "I'd make sure I had the upper hand," she replied, her voice unwavering. The challenge in her words hung palpably in the air. It was a bold assertion, one that surprised even her. The men at the table exchanged glances, their expressions a mix of amusement and curiosity. Victor's eyes sparkled with intrigue. "And how would you manage that?" he inquired, leaning forward slightly, his interest piqued. The way he regarded her now was different, a glimmer of respect mingling with the playful mockery. It was as if she had caught his attention in a way no one else had before. "I'd use my wits," Mia replied confidently, crossing her arms. "A quick mind can be far more dangerous than brute strength." The response elicited a few chuckles from Victor's associates, but the mood shifted again when Victor's gaze intensified. There was something in his expression, a flicker of vulnerability behind the mask of his bravado. Mia noticed the way he shifted, unease flickering across his handsome features. It was subtle but palpable. For a moment, the impenetrable Mafia boss seemed just a little less formidable, revealing an edge of something raw. She registered this as a fleeting glimpse into the man behind the facade. "Interesting perspective," Victor said, his tone thoughtful, almost contemplative. "Most would cower at the thought of facing someone like me." He paused, his blue eyes narrowing slightly, as if sizing her up for an entirely different reason. "But you have a fire." The words hung between them, and in that moment the atmosphere shifted again. Mia felt the shift within herself, a realization dawning. Standing before Victor, she recognized her own strength, her capacity to confront someone who embodied danger and allure. She was no longer just a waitress. She was a woman who could stand her ground, even in the eye of the storm. "Fire can be dangerous too," she shot back, a smirk tugging at her lips. "But it can also ignite change." The table erupted into laughter at her retort, but Victor remained silent, his gaze locked onto hers. There was a tension now, an electric charge that neither of them wanted to acknowledge. "Perhaps you're right," he conceded, his voice softening, revealing a hint of admiration that he seemed to struggle with. "But remember, fire also burns. Careful where you direct your flame." Mia felt a thrill at the exchange, but uncertainty loomed over her. She was playing with fire, and yet there was an undeniable draw to this man. The power he wielded was intoxicating. But so was the idea of standing up to him. The duality of Victor's nature intrigued her. The powerful Mafia boss juxtaposed with this unexpected hint of vulnerability. "Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to resume our earlier conversation," Victor said, his demeanor shifting back to the charming yet commanding presence that defined him. "Drinks for the table, and perhaps a few more of your thoughts on life?" Mia hesitated, contemplating how much she was willing to reveal, but something in her urged her to keep pushing the boundaries, to explore this uncharted territory. "Only if you promise to keep it interesting," she replied, a challenge lacing her tone. As she stepped away to fetch their drinks, Mia felt a rush of exhilaration coursing through her veins. The stakes were rising, and she had no intention of backing down. In this world of power and danger, she was beginning to carve out her own space, one bold exchange at a time. The night rolled on, each moment saturated with tension and anticipation. Mia's interactions with Victor blurred the lines between professional and personal, igniting a spark that neither could ignore. The more they spoke, the more she realized that beneath his commanding exterior lay a man grappling with his own demons. As she returned to the table, drinks in hand, she caught Victor's eye. The connection was almost palpable, a silent agreement that something was unfolding between them, something that could change both of their lives forever. Each conversation chipped away at the walls they had built, revealing glimpses of the complexities hidden beneath their surfaces. Mia had stepped into Victor's world, and now there was no turning back. The night promised more than just a shift in her perception. It hinted at a collision of two disparate lives, both searching for meaning in the chaos. The thrill of the unknown coiled tightly in her chest, and Mia knew she was ready for whatever came next. Mia stood behind the bar, meticulously polishing a glass, her mind swirling with thoughts of Victor. The way he looked at her, the intensity in his voice, it was difficult to shake off the effect he had on her. Every encounter left her feeling both exhilarated and disoriented. She had never been drawn to someone so dangerously captivating before, yet there was a part of her that craved the thrill, even if it meant stepping into a realm she barely understood. As the evening wore on, the restaurant buzzed with laughter and clinking glasses, but Mia's attention was still consumed by Victor's presence. She caught sight of him across the room, surrounded by his entourage. There was an aura about him that commanded respect, yet it was the flicker of vulnerability she had glimpsed that lingered in her thoughts, igniting a curiosity that started to edge into something deeper. Just as she began to regain her focus, one of the restaurant managers approached her, his expression unusually serious. "Mia, you have a special assignment tonight," he said, adjusting his tie as he spoke. "Victor has requested you for a private event he's hosting. It's important you make a good impression." Her heart skipped a beat. Victor had requested her? The implication of this invitation sent a rush of adrenaline through her. "What kind of event?" she asked, trying to mask the excitement with professionalism. "It's a small gathering for some of his closest associates. You'll be serving drinks and food, but it's supposed to be a bit more exclusive. Just be yourself and remember, they are not your usual clients." Mia swallowed hard, nerves bubbling beneath her skin. She nodded, her mind racing with the implications of being in a more intimate setting with Victor and his powerful allies. She had seen the world he inhabited from a distance, but now she was being thrust into the epicenter of it. As she prepared for the event, she slipped into an elegant black dress that hugged her figure in a flattering way, her hair cascading in soft waves around her shoulders. She took a moment to look at herself in the mirror, reminding herself of her strength and independence. She was not just a waitress. She was capable and resilient. When she arrived at the private venue, a luxurious penthouse suite with panoramic views of the city, the atmosphere was thick with opulence and power. The room was filled with Victor's associates, all men of influence in tailored suits, their laughter echoing against the walls. Mia felt the weight of their stares as she entered, a mix of curiosity and appraisal. Victor spotted her almost immediately, his expression shifting from casual conversation to a focused intensity. "Mia, you made it," he said, a genuine smile breaking through his usual demeanor. The warmth in his voice made her pulse quicken. "Thank you for having me. I hope I can meet your expectations," she replied, trying to sound confident. "You already have," he said, gesturing for her to come closer. "Let me introduce you to some of my associates." As he led her through the crowd, Mia felt the eyes of the room on her, scrutinizing her every move. She could hear snippets of conversation, a world of power plays and subtle negotiations that felt foreign yet intoxicating. Victor's presence beside her provided a strange sense of comfort amidst the uncertainty. "This is Anton," Victor said, introducing her to a particularly imposing man with a thick beard and sharp features. "He's been with me for years." "Nice to meet you, Mia," Anton said, his voice low and gravelly. "Likewise," she managed to say, keeping her composure. The introductions continued, and with each name, her understanding of the network of alliances around Victor deepened. It was a world defined by trust, loyalty, and the unspoken rules that governed it. As the evening progressed, Mia found herself serving drinks and engaging in light conversation. Yet, amidst the small talk, she felt Victor's gaze lingering on her, a constant reminder of the tension that crackled between them. Each time their eyes met, an unspoken understanding passed between them, a challenge to navigate the complexities of their worlds. At one point, she caught Victor watching her from across the room, his expression contemplative and intense. It sent a thrill coursing through her veins. She was aware of the danger that surrounded him, the potential violence lurking just beneath the surface, yet she felt an inexplicable pull toward him. As the night wore on, Victor called her over to his side, the soft music enveloping them as he leaned in closer. "How are you finding the event?" he asked, his voice low enough for only her to hear. "It's enlightening," she replied honestly, glancing around at the powerful men who surrounded them. "I didn't realize how deep your connections run." Victor smirked, a gleam of pride in his eyes. "This is just the tip of the iceberg. There are layers to this life that most don't see." Mia felt a mix of excitement and apprehension at his words. "And what about you? Do you like this world?" He hesitated, the flicker of vulnerability she had seen earlier returning. "It's a double-edged sword. Power comes with its own burdens." Their eyes locked, and in that moment, the rest of the room faded away. Mia could sense the weight of his words, the struggles he faced beneath the surface of his confident facade. "You don't have to carry it alone," she offered softly, an impulse that surprised even her. Victor regarded her with a mixture of surprise and intrigue, as if her words had struck a chord within him. "You're a rare one, Mia," he acknowledged, a hint of admiration threading through his tone. The connection between them deepened, an electric charge that neither of them could ignore. As the night continued, the anticipation of what lay ahead hung in the air, thick with unspoken tension and the promise of something more. Mia felt a thrill of danger and desire, the realization dawning that this world, with all its risks, was becoming an inextricable part of her life. She was drawn into the orbit of Victor's existence, and with each encounter, the lines between fear and attraction began to blur. When the evening finally wound down, Victor turned to her, his expression serious. "I need you to be careful. This life isn't meant for the faint-hearted." "I can handle myself," Mia replied defiantly, her heart racing. "I've already faced more than you know." He studied her for a moment, a blend of respect and something else flickering in his gaze. "I believe you, but remember, the flames can burn both ways." As she left the penthouse, the weight of his words clung to her, a warning and a promise intertwined. She was stepping into a world filled with shadows and light, and though the stakes were high, she could feel the fire igniting within her, ready to embrace whatever came next. Mia moved through the lavish penthouse, her heart racing as the atmosphere shifted. The laughter and banter felt charged now, as if the air had thickened with unspoken tension. She caught snippets of conversation, dark undercurrents intermingling with the light-heartedness of the evening. Victor remained close, his protective presence anchoring her amidst the swirling uncertainty. As she poured drinks for the guests, she noticed Victor's demeanor subtly change. His posture straightened, and his gaze turned fierce as he scanned the room. Suddenly, the door swung open, and a group of sharply dressed men entered, exuding an air of arrogance that permeated the room. Mia's intuition warned her of the impending trouble. Victor's body tensed beside her, a stark contrast to the relaxed charm he had displayed moments before. The newcomers were from a rival faction, known for their ruthless ambition and willingness to challenge Victor's authority. Their leader, a tall man with slicked back hair and a disdainful smirk, surveyed the crowd, his eyes landing on Victor with a predatory gleam. "Makarov," Victor greeted, his voice steady yet laced with an undercurrent of irritation. "I didn't expect to see you here." The tension escalated as Makarov approached, every step deliberate, the crowd parting like water to a ship. "I thought it might be an interesting evening," he replied, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "Surely you wouldn't mind sharing the spotlight?" Mia stood frozen, a drink tray in hand, as she watched the power play unfold. She had never seen Victor like this. The calm facade he maintained was cracking, revealing a man prepared for battle. It was a side of him that both frightened and fascinated her. Makarov leaned closer, his voice low enough for only Victor to hear. "You know the message I'm bringing, don't you? Your time is running out." Victor's jaw tightened, and Mia felt a rush of adrenaline course through her veins. She was no longer just an observer. She was part of the dangerous game unfolding before her. Making a split-second decision, she stepped forward, her voice strong as she interrupted, "Why don't we keep this civilized? There's no need for threats." Makarov's gaze snapped to her, surprise momentarily flickering across his features before it was replaced by amusement. "And who are you, dear?" he taunted, his condescension palpable. "A waitress trying to play with the big boys?" Mia held her chin high, refusing to back down. "I'm someone who knows how to serve drinks and handle myself in a situation. Maybe you should reconsider your approach." The words left her lips before she could second-guess herself, and she felt Victor's approving gaze on her, a flicker of pride that ignited a fire within her. The room fell silent, all eyes on Makarov as he processed the unexpected challenge. Victor stepped closer to Mia, his hand brushing against her back, a silent affirmation of solidarity. "She's right, Makarov," he said, his voice firm. "You'd do well to remember your place." The tension in the room was palpable, a delicate balance of power teetering on the edge of chaos. Makarov's smirk faded, replaced by a calculating glare. "You underestimate the consequences of your arrogance, Victor. I'll be seeing you soon." With that, he turned on his heel and strode out, his entourage following suit, the weight of their presence lingering like a bad aftertaste. As the door clicked shut, Mia exhaled a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "What just happened?" she asked, still buzzing with adrenaline. Victor's expression softened, and for a moment, the mask of the Mafia boss slipped away, revealing the man beneath. "You stood up for yourself," he said, his admiration evident. "Not many would dare to do that in this world." His eyes searched hers, and she felt the intensity of the moment wrap around them, a connection forged in the fires of conflict. "I didn't want to let him intimidate you," Mia confessed, feeling the rush of courage that had propelled her forward. "I didn't know what else to do." Victor's lips curled into a small smile, a rare sight that sent a thrill through her. "You did well, but now you must be careful. The stakes just got higher." The seriousness of his tone cut through the lingering tension, grounding her in reality once more. "Are we in danger?" Mia asked, concern flickering in her chest. "Perhaps," he replied, his gaze distant for a moment as he assessed the situation. "Makarov wants to make a statement, and this was just the beginning." Mia felt the weight of his words. She had stepped into a world filled with peril, and yet the thought of retreating was unbearable. She had tasted the thrill of standing beside Victor, of confronting danger head-on, and it ignited a yearning for more. "What do we do now?" she asked, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her. "We prepare," Victor said, his determination palpable. "I won't let him threaten what's mine." Mia's heart raced at the intensity of his words. The idea of being part of this world exhilarated her, but it also terrified her. She could see the depth of his protective nature, the lengths he would go to shield those he cared about. "Does that include me?" she questioned, wanting to understand her place in this dangerous game. "Especially you," he clarified, his tone softening. "I need someone I trust by my side, and you have proven you can handle more than you realize." The gravity of his statement settled over her like a warm blanket, both comforting and heavy with responsibility. She had a choice to make: embrace this life of danger and allure, or distance herself from the chaos. As she looked into Victor's eyes, she saw not just a mafia boss, but a man who had seen battles and borne scars, a man who needed her strength as much as she craved his protection. "I'm in," Mia declared, her voice unwavering. "Whatever it takes." Victor's expression shifted, a blend of surprise and delight flickering across his features. In that moment, a pact was formed between them, a silent agreement to face the darkness together. The world around them faded, leaving only the bond they were forging amidst the chaos. As she prepared to face the storm ahead, Mia knew one thing for certain. She would no longer be a passive observer in Victor's world. She was stepping into the fray, ready to fight for what mattered, ready to embrace the life that awaited them both. The air in the penthouse was still charged with the remnants of confrontation as Mia stood by Victor, her heart thrumming with a mix of adrenaline and uncertainty. The room had shifted, the laughter that once filled it now replaced by a heavy silence, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. She could feel Victor's tension, a palpable force radiating from him, and it ignited a spark of courage within her. But now, faced with the aftermath of her brash interruption, questions buzzed in her mind. "What just happened?" she finally asked, her voice wavering slightly. Victor's gaze remained fixed on the door where Makarov had exited, a storm brewing behind his calm facade. "You stood up to him," he replied, his tone a mix of admiration and concern. "Not many would dare to do that." Mia felt the weight of his words, and a part of her swelled with pride. Yet another part trembled at the reality of the situation. "But what does that mean for you, for us?" The last two words slipped out on a breath, laced with vulnerability. Victor turned to face her, his expression softer, though still guarded. "This world isn't kind to those who challenge it. It could bring more trouble than you realize." "Trouble?" She couldn't help but laugh, a bitter sound that cut through the tension. "You think I'm afraid of trouble? I just stepped in front of a man who threatened you. I'm not some helpless girl waiting for a prince to save me." Her defiant words hung in the air, igniting something in Victor. The corner of his mouth twitched upward, almost imperceptibly. "You're anything but helpless, Mia. That's what I admire about you." Mia felt a warmth blossom in her chest at his compliment, but the shadows in his eyes reminded her of the deeper issues at play. "Then why do you keep me at arm's length? Why push me away when I'm right here?" Victor's expression darkened, and for a fleeting moment she caught a glimpse of the man beneath the ice. "You don't understand what it means to be in my world. I've lost people I loved to this life. I can't." He faltered, the weight of his past crashing over him like a wave. "Then tell me," Mia urged, her voice steady but gentle. "Help me understand." He hesitated, shoulders stiffening as he wrestled with the ghosts of his past. "I grew up in a world where loyalty meant everything, but it was also the reason I lost my family." His eyes bore into hers, the intensity of his pain raw and unfiltered. "I watched my father make choices that led to our demise. Trust is a luxury I can't afford, and getting close to anyone puts them at risk." Mia's heart ached at his revelation. She saw the man behind the powerful facade, the vulnerability that lay underneath. "But I'm already here, Victor. You can't keep me out forever. I want to be part of your life, not just a shadow lingering in the background." His gaze softened, and for a moment, the walls between them began to crumble. "You don't know what you're asking for." "Then show me," she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. "I want to know you, all of you, even the parts you think I can't handle." Victor's expression shifted, the flicker of something deeper igniting in his eyes. "Mia, you're braver than most. I don't want to drag you into this darkness." "But I'm already here, Victor." she insisted, stepping closer, her heart pounding in her chest. You faced Makarov without flinching. You can't keep hiding from me. His gaze flickered, revealing an internal battle. I'm not hiding, I'm protecting you. By pushing me away? She challenged, her voice sharp yet filled with longing. Do you even realize how much that hurts? The silence that followed was heavy, charged with emotions neither of them wanted to admit. Victor ran a hand through his hair, frustration mingling with something softer. You make it harder for me to keep my distance. You're different how? She pressed, sensing the vulnerability he barely concealed. Different in a way that makes me want you closer, yet the fear of losing you pulls me back. His voice trembled slightly, the admission hanging in the air like a fragile thread. Mia stepped even closer, her breath mingling with the tension that surrounded them. You don't have to face it alone, Victor. Let me in. As if by instinct, he reached out, his fingers brushing against her arm, a touch that sent shivers down her spine. This isn't a safe place for you, he murmured, his eyes searching hers for understanding. Maybe it is if we face it together, she replied, her heart racing with the weight of their shared moment. I can't promise I won't get scared, but I promise I won't run away. His lips parted, a mixture of surprise and something deeper crossing his features. Mia! Before he could finish, the door rattled behind them, snapping them back to reality. A sharp knock echoed through the room, and the moment shattered, replaced by the urgency of their surroundings. Victor's expression hardened, the Mafia boss reasserting control over his emotions. We'll talk later, he said, his voice low and filled with an intensity that made her heart race. Victor, she called, desperation creeping into her tone. Promise me you won't shut me out. He paused, the tension between them electric, before nodding slightly. I promise. With that, he moved towards the door, ready to confront whatever lay beyond, while Mia stood frozen, feeling the gravity of their connection shift into something new. She knew that the world they were caught in was dangerous, but amidst the chaos, she had discovered a bond that tied them together in ways they were only beginning to understand. As the door swung open, a familiar face appeared, and the air hummed with uncertainty once again. The external threats loomed large, but Mia's heart was resolute. She was ready to face whatever came next, no longer just an observer in Victor's life, but an active participant in the tangled web of loyalty, danger, and above all, love. Mia could feel the tension ebb and flow in the room, a living entity that twisted around her and Victor like a shroud. The silence following Makarov's departure felt like the calm before a storm, and she knew that the repercussions of her actions were far from over. She turned to Victor, searching for clarity in his stormy gaze. "What's next?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly despite her resolve. Victor ran a hand through his hair, a telltale sign of his internal conflict. "Next, we prepare for what's coming," he replied, his voice low and grave. "Makarov won't take this lightly. He'll see your defiance as a challenge, and that could be dangerous for both of us." Mia's heart sank at the gravity of his words. She hadn't meant to incite a war, she simply wanted to protect him. "But I stood by you, Victor. I won't back down now." Her determination flared, and she took a step closer, the distance between them shrinking. "We can face whatever comes together." He looked at her, a flicker of admiration mingling with concern in his eyes. "You don't understand the risks," he said, the tension in his tone rising. "This isn't just about us anymore. It's about loyalty, power, and survival. You could be a target." "Then let me be a target," Mia asserted, her voice steady. "I won't let fear dictate my life, not anymore." The fire in her spirit surprised even her, but she knew she couldn't stand idly by while Victor fought battles alone. Victor's expression softened, and for a brief moment, she saw the man who had captivated her from the start, the one who had shared his burdens during their quiet moments. "You're stronger than most," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "But even strength has its limits." "Maybe," she replied, her eyes locking onto his. "But I refuse to be a pawn in this game. I want to choose my place, even if it's beside you in the chaos." The door creaked open once more, interrupting their moment. A tall man with a chiseled jaw and sharp eyes stepped in, his presence commanding immediate attention. "Victor," he said, his tone authoritative, "we need to talk. Now." Mia watched as Victor's demeanor shifted instantly. The warmth in his gaze turned cold, his posture rigid. "I'll be there in a moment," he replied, his voice clipped. The man nodded and stepped back into the hallway, leaving the door ajar. "What was that about?" Mia asked, sensing the urgency in the air. "Just some business," Victor said, but she could hear the tension in his voice, the way he avoided her gaze. "Business that could get us both killed?" she pressed, unwilling to let him deflect the conversation. Victor sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "It's more complicated than that. Makarov's actions could destabilize everything. I can't have you wrapped up in this." "Too late for that," Mia shot back, crossing her arms defiantly. "I'm already involved." Victor took a step back, his frustration evident. "You don't understand what you're asking me to do. I can't let you suffer for my choices." Mia's heart raced as the stakes of their relationship became clear. "But you're making this decision for me, Victor. You don't get to choose my fate." He paused, his expression torn. "You could walk away from this if you wanted to. I could make that happen." "And leave you to handle this alone?" she challenged, her voice thick with emotion. "You're not some lone wolf, Victor. You have people who care about you, and I'm one of them. I want to fight with you." His gaze flickered with something that resembled hope, but it was quickly overshadowed by the heavy shadows of doubt. "I can't let you get hurt, not because of me." "Then let me decide what I can handle," Mia insisted. "I want to be with you, but I need you to trust me." Victor stepped closer, the air thickening with unspoken words. "Trust is a fragile thing in my world," he murmured, the vulnerability in his voice cutting through the tension like a knife. "And I've lost so much already." Mia reached out, her fingers brushing against his arm. "We can build something new. Together. You just have to let me in." In that moment, the weight of their shared burden pressed heavily between them, a mixture of fear and longing. Victor's gaze lingered on her, and for the first time, she saw a flicker of hope igniting in his eyes. "I wish I could just make it all disappear," he whispered, the raw honesty of his confession resonating deeply within her. "Maybe we can," she responded softly, her heart racing at the thought of facing whatever came next by his side. "But we have to confront Makarov first." Victor's jaw tightened, the resolve in his expression hardening. "Then we do this together, but you need to follow my lead, Mia." "I always will," she promised, her voice steady. "But we both know the danger is far from over. Makarov won't rest until he's taken revenge for the disrespect I showed him." Victor nodded, the steel in his demeanor returning. "Then we prepare. I'll gather the men, but we need to act fast. I won't let you become a pawn in this game." The determination in his voice ignited a fire within Mia. She felt the weight of their shared understanding, the unbreakable bond forged in the heat of adversity. As they moved toward the door, ready to face whatever awaited them, she knew that this confrontation would define the course of their relationship. "Whatever happens, we do it together," she reaffirmed, her heart pounding in unison with his. Together, Victor echoed, the promise hanging in the air as they stepped into the uncertain future, ready to confront the shadows of their pasts and the dangers ahead. Mia's heart raced as Victor's stormy gaze locked onto hers, the silence thickening like fog around them. "You have to understand, Mia," he began, his voice a low rumble. "This world is unforgiving. Loyalty is everything, and betrayal can come from the most unlikely places." She could see the weight of his past pressing down on him, the shadows of old alliances and threats looming over their fragile connection. "I know it is, Victor," she replied, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside her. "But I want to be part of your world. I want to help you navigate through it." The admission hung between them, a bridge she hoped to build despite the chasm of uncertainty that lay ahead. Victor studied her, searching for signs of naivety or fear, but all he found was a fierce determination. "You think you're ready for this?" he challenged, his tone sharp. "You think you can handle the weight of what's to come?" "I've handled more than you know," she shot back, her resolve hardening. "I'm not just a waitress anymore. I'm not just someone on the sidelines. I want to fight beside you, Victor." The truth of her words struck a chord deep within him, igniting a spark of hope that flickered against the backdrop of his doubts. He exhaled slowly, his breath a mixture of frustration and admiration. "You're extraordinary, Mia, but this isn't just about you or me. Makarov will retaliate, and I can't let you be caught in the crossfire." Mia stepped forward, closing the space between them, her eyes unwavering. "Then we protect each other. We make a plan." The intensity of her gaze pierced through his defenses, and for the first time, Victor felt a glimmer of something more than just the heavy burden of his responsibilities. He felt a sense of partnership, a connection that transcended the chaos around them. "All right," he conceded, his voice softening. "We'll devise a plan, but you must promise me that you'll stay close. No more reckless decisions." The seriousness in his tone was palpable, and she nodded, understanding the gravity of their situation. They spent the next few hours strategizing, mapping out a course of action that would allow them to stand united against the impending storm. Mia felt empowered as she contributed ideas, her insights as valuable as Victor's. She was no longer just a spectator in his world, she was an integral part of it. "We can't underestimate Makarov," Victor warned, his brow furrowed as he leaned over the table spread with papers and diagrams. "He'll be looking for any weakness to exploit." Mia nodded, her thoughts racing. "What if we set up a meeting, a way to draw him out and confront him directly? If he thinks we're divided, he'll strike, but if we show him we're united, it might buy us some time." Victor paused, considering her suggestion. "You're suggesting we take the fight to him?" "Exactly," she replied, her voice steady. "Let's show him we're not afraid." A smile tugged at the corners of Victor's mouth, a rare glimpse of approval. "You're not just a waitress, are you?" "I never was," Mia replied, her eyes sparkling with newfound confidence. "And I won't let anyone treat me like one." As they finalized their plans, a sense of balance began to settle between them. The tension that had once felt insurmountable now transformed into a shared purpose. They were no longer just Victor and Mia. They were a team, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The next few days were a whirlwind of preparation. They met with trusted allies, those who had proven their loyalty to Victor over the years. Mia felt the weight of their scrutiny, but she stood her ground, proving her worth to everyone they encountered. The more she immersed herself in Victor's world, the more she realized how much she had to offer. One evening, as they sat together in the quiet of Victor's penthouse, the glow of the city lights spilling through the windows, he turned to her, his expression serious. "You know, Mia, I've never let anyone into my life like this before. You're different." Her heart fluttered at his words, but she maintained her composure. "And you're different too, Victor. You've let your guard down with me. I see the man behind the boss, and I want to know him more." He leaned closer, the air between them thick with unspoken emotions. "You're the first person to challenge me like this. It's refreshing." Mia smiled, the warmth of his admiration wrapping around her like a comforting blanket. "We're in this together, Victor. I won't let you down." As they prepared for the confrontation with Makarov, Mia felt a sense of purpose that she had never experienced before. She was no longer just a bystander in Victor's life. She was an active participant, ready to face whatever dangers awaited them. The day of their meeting arrived, tension crackling in the air as they stepped into the dimly lit warehouse where Makarov had agreed to meet. Victor's presence was commanding, but Mia felt a surge of confidence beside him. They were ready, not just to confront a rival, but to solidify their bond against the chaos of their world. As they entered the room, Makarov's cold gaze met them, a smirk playing on his lips. "Ah, Victor, and you brought a guest," he taunted, his voice dripping with disdain. Mia felt Victor tense beside her, but she took a step forward, her chin raised defiantly. "I'm not just a guest. I'm here to make it clear that we're not afraid of you, Makarov." The surprise in Makarov's eyes was fleeting, quickly replaced by a calculated malice. "You think you can stand against me?" Victor's hand brushed against Mia's, a silent show of solidarity. "Together, we're stronger than you realize." The tension in the room escalated, but Mia felt a thrill of adrenaline. They were in this together, ready to face whatever Makarov had planned. As the confrontation unfolded, Mia and Victor stood united, their bond fortified by the challenges they had faced and the trust they had built. The stakes were high, but so was their resolve. In that moment, Mia understood that she was no longer just a waitress trapped in a world of power and danger. She was a partner, an equal, and together they would navigate the tumultuous waters that lay ahead. With a fierce determination, they faced Makarov, ready to reclaim their future and protect what they had built together. The journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, but Mia was no longer afraid. She had found her place, and she would fight for it, side by side with Victor, the man who had shown her the strength of love amidst the chaos of the Mafia world. As they left the warehouse, hand in hand, a new chapter awaited them, filled with adventures and trials that would test their bond and their resolve. But for the first time, Mia felt truly alive, ready to embrace the chaos and love that awaited them.